Talk about climate change. So we are told carbon emissions are responsible for climate change. So CO2 is the culprit here. So let's destroy this narrative with their own numbers. In the example of Canada, we are paying a carbon tax because Justin Trudeau deems it necessary for the people to pay for their own emissions, their contributions to this climate change. We are emitting a lot of CO2, so we are causing these climate problems. I don't see any problems, but okay, let's go with that. There are 318 billion trees in Canada. One mature tree clears or absorbs 48 pounds of CO2 per year. This means 7.6 billion tons of CO2 are absorbed by trees every year. Now, it is estimated that 545 million tons of CO2 is produced in Canada every year, which means the trees in Canada, and I'm not talking about all the other vegetation other than trees. We're not talking about that. We're not including that, which means trees only in Canada absorb 14 times more than the carbon emission of Canada, and we are made to pay a carbon tax. So tell me again what it is about. Is it about climate change? It's not. If there's no CO2, we are doomed. There cannot be life without CO2. Now let's talk about the US. There are 228 billion trees in the United States with the capacity to clean 5.47 billion tons of CO2 every year. And the US produces 5 billion tons of CO2, which means the trees only absorb more than carbon emissions in the United States. So what are we talking about? Now let's move a little further. There's an estimate of 3 trillion trees around the world. The worldwide CO2 emission is at 37 billion tons, but the trees around the world absorb 72 billion, almost 73 billion tons of CO2, which means the trees around the world have the capacity to absorb twice as much carbon emission. Wake up. There's no CO2 problem. There's no carbon emission problem. There's no climate change. Wake up, people.